Hello, welcome to the Far Left Show. Today we have an interview with Adam Christensen, who is running for Florida State District, the 3rd State District of Florida. And we have a great conversation with him. I hope you enjoy.
There, is that working?
There we go. Awesome.
Hi.
Cool. How are you? Who's the puppy?
Oh, that's Dougie.
That's our puppy Dougie.
Yeah.
Come here.
Oh, yeah, one too?
Oh.
Come here. He was sleeping. He's not very happy about this.
He's like, you're just.
Oh my gosh.
So cute.
Huge.
Yeah, he's very sleepy right now.
Let's see if these two can interact with each other. Maybe it can be a conversation.
him?
Hi, say hi.
No, you want to go back to sleep?
He's like, no, I'm too grumpy. That's so
Yeah, he's just like,
What's his name?
Pummel.
Pummel. Oh wow.
Like he's gonna go pummel somebody.
I was
That's a
gonna
strong
say,
name.
He could do that. He's huge.
Yeah.
He is 25 pounds.
Oh my
Wow.
He's a Pomsky, so he's a little Pomeranian husky. So he's
gosh. Wow.
Cute. That's a
Yeah.
cool mix. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
and it was Dougie.
Yeah,
It is
Dougie. And he's
yeah.
only 8 pounds. So he's a
So
small
cute.
guy. Yeah.
So we're here with Adam Christensen, who's running for Florida's 3rd district. And I wanted to ask you real quick, like, how are you feeling about the election coming up on Tuesday?
I'm good. I'm tired, but I'm fine. Honestly, like, win or lose, we did everything we possibly could have. And it's one of those things where we were running in an impossible race to begin with. Like, it's a +9 Republican district, or at least it was 2.5 years ago. And there hasn't been polling here for like 2.5 years. And so everyone told us basically, if you don't have $3 million, like, it's a waste of time. Like, don't do it. It's not worth it. And basically, we said, yeah, we're not going to listen to that. And we're not going to actually like agree with that. And so we decided to try. And now it looks like we are going to do better than any Democrat has ever done in this area.
Wow, that's awesome.
So win or lose, like what we did is probably going to determine the presidential race, to be honest with you, because Florida, whichever way it goes, if we win and Joe Biden cuts the margins here, he wins. Like, it's over. Florida's over. And on top of that, like, if we win, it would be historic. And it would be something that everyone said was impossible. And that would be cool. At the same time, like, I'm at peace either way. Like, I get my life back.
Right? Seriously, running a campaign seems so chaotic, but
Yeah.
honestly,
And not even chaotic good. Like, just like, no.
chaos, just pure chaos. Yeah, and respect for, running despite people telling you like, no, don't do it. There's no way. And speaking of your district, did you want to talk more about what your district is like and some of the issues that are pertinent to the people that live there?
Yeah, I can do that. So we've got like 6 counties. One is like 80% Republican. Like, it is one of the most red places in Florida. It's Clay County. And then we have Putnam, which is kind of like a small town, like old Florida kind of feel. It's also pretty Republican. We've got Bradford, which is very small town. And then we have Union, which happens to be the poorest county in the state and almost in the country. And yeah, their average income is about $14,000 a year. We've got Alachua, which is Gainesville, which is the only blue dot in all of North Central Florida, or pretty much all of Northern Florida to begin with. That's University of Florida area. Then we have Ocala, which is just south of us here. And it's got, it's Marion County. So it's typically red as well. So typically 5 out of the 6 counties are very red. And then you have Alachua. And typically Democrats lose here by about 15% every year and never come close. And they also, never raise the money. Like, they never have like organizational structure. Like, it just doesn't happen. And yeah, we kind of changed that a little bit.
I wanted to ask you a bit about your political experience, either in terms of campaigns run or any events or things that have happened.
Nothing.
All new.
No, not even a little bit. No.
Well, actually, that gets into my next question, because you did say you started a business with only $3,000 in your pocket. I see you also probably have the small business owner in your caption there.
Is it still in there?
Yeah.
I haven't looked. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, well, it was right out of college, and basically, you know, I had won a little bit of money from like a competition kind of thing that one of my professors had entered me in, and I didn't know about it. And he calls me like right as school ends, like right as I'm graduating. He's like, "Hey, you want like $1,000?" And I was like, "For what?" And he's like, "Oh, well, you know, you did that video for that business idea you had, and like we entered you in something, and we didn't tell you." I was like, "Cool." Okay. And so he's basically like, yeah, so where you want to get the check? And I was like, so like, I have to actually do it. And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, I wanted to go to Hawaii and study dolphins. And he's like, well, make that choice. So at that point, you know, I had a little bit of money, but then basically I decided to drive across the country, number one, to figure out where I wanted to start it, and number two, to try to work enough to make enough money to actually start it. So I went from Virginia to Indiana down to Tampa. I grabbed a buddy of mine. We drove out to Arkansas. We worked for like a couple weeks as almost like lumberjacks, like cutting through like a pine forest, which is interesting. Made enough money to get out to California, worked out there at as a basically camp counselors for a very bougie camp. Oh my goodness. Like it was the Silicon Valley kind of kids that their parents just shipped them off for a little bit. So we worked there for a little bit, and then we made it to North Dakota, and then finally made it back down to Florida. And basically I looked at a bunch of different incubators across the country as we were driving. And I liked Gainesville's the most. And so basically got here, contacted the mass spectroscopy department at UF, and was basically like, hey, can I rent out a couple of your instruments, you know, to start a company? And so I started it in the Hub, which is a small business incubator basically in downtown Gainesville, was connected with University of Florida, and started testing essential oils, basically to try to stop people from getting screwed over, fraud, basically stopping fraudulent products. After about a month and a half, I had 68 cents left. That was terrifying, because on the way down from North Dakota, I found the cheapest apartment I possibly could online, and then called the guy. I was like, I will take it. And yeah, so survived, and yeah, did okay.
Wow. It's like the American dream right there.
I know, that's
I don't
incredible.
know about the American dream, more like the nightmare. It was like throw your feet, like just jump in feet first, and like if you survive, good. If you don't, it's a
Yeah.
little terrifying.
Also, you know, you speak about how your business focused on looking for fraud, and you mentioned, you know, how the American people had been like ripped off and all that, and you also mentioned the crash in 2008 as being one of those instances. So
Yeah.
we were wondering, you know, like, why did you feel like that was such a important and relevant thing to include in your video, and how does that relate to your platform?
Well, I mean, everyone's lives changed in 2008, right?
Yeah.
Like we gave a ridiculous amount of money to God knows where. Basically the people who caused it to happen in the first place, caused the crash in the first place because of mismanagement and like building up a bunch of basically basically gambling with people's money. And when it became a bubble and then it exploded, we decided, oh, well, those same people, we should give them more money. Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing to do. We're not going to give it to the people who are losing their homes, or, you know, losing, you know, their jobs or their houses, or like, you know, their jobs. That's what we did. We gave money to the people who caused the issues that we had, and they did better than ever. Those banks got back up on their feet. Like they are more profitable than they have ever been. And yet people have still not recovered from that. And now we just got hit by another pandemic, and we decided, oh yeah, let's give money to the airlines. Let's not require them to keep their employees, but let's just give money to the airlines. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I mean. It's like, we keep getting ripped off. Like the people who cause our issues, the people who are responsible for our economies crashing and or like building up predatory debt in the middle class or like consumer finance, we for some reason think they know what is best for us. And instead of taking care of normal people, we just keep handing them money. And so I personally feel like they're just ripping us off. Like that's fraud, I think. Now, I think a lot of other people think that too. So for me, it's just changing our priorities to actually deal with people, focus on people, instead of, giving money to the middle or the top and not having a sustainable like society. So when you build it from the ground up instead of the top down, it's sustainable. It can survive pandemics. It can do those kind of things. But right now we can't. And we're not built that way.
Right.
And this is sort of a conversation that we've been having surrounding Joe Biden, because we know that the Obama administration is the one that signed off on the bailout of the big banks. And so I was curious, why should we vote for Joe Biden if that... Sorry, the dogs are fighting. Why should we vote for Joe Biden? That's something I've just been asking people because I genuinely do want to hear people's responses. Yeah.
We're voting for Joe Biden so our democracy can survive, and also because he is one of those people who, for his entire career, has gone where the tides go, effectively, and the tides have turned. And we are no longer allowing people to just do whatever they want. We are forcing them to focus on people, on making sure that people have homes, jobs, money, that they actually have stability. And that is what we're going to force. And so he is actually one of the perfect people. I mean, most people don't realize this, and we don't talk about it very much. But FDR, he did not want to do all the things he did. He was forced to do all the things he did. And it's one of those things where, yeah, you have a figurehead, you have a guy like that, but it's a question of who are the people behind the scenes making that happen. And that's kind of what I realized when running for politics. It's not about the figurehead. It's not about the person itself. It's not about the brand. Because effectively every single politician, they're all brands. Like most of the ones I've met in person are the most sinfully boring human beings on the planet. It's awful. I can't have a conversation with them. It's like, you're not a real person. You're just like, hi, how are you? Good to meet you. It's wonderful. I love what you're doing for this country. And I'm sitting there going, you know nothing about any of these people, and yet you're just trying to be friendly. And it's like, that is it. There's no substance there. And so for me, it's a question of, okay, well, if you got somebody like that, can you push them? Can you make them do what you want? Do you have enough political power to actually force them to take people seriously and to refocus, attention? I agree. Like it's based on the person he's running against. It's not a hard choice.
Yeah.
If it was anybody else, it would be a difficult choice. And the reason is we can no longer keep doing the same things that we've been doing for years. Like the crime bill, that's atrocious. It's unforgivable. Like we're talking about like predatory debt, the fact that insurance rates were set however the hell they wanted to, and all that did was prey on the middle, like the poor and working classes. Like those kind of bills are some of the most destructive pieces of legislation that the United States has ever seen. And yet the people who wrote them are kind of being let off the hook.
Yeah.
And so it's a question of, okay, well, we know what happened and we know who did it. So are we going to fix it or not? And at this moment, I think it's the only real shot we've got to be able to try. And so I've come to terms with it, and not my first choice, not my ninth choice, but it is what it is. And so we do what we do. And that's where I'm at least.
That's where we're at too.
Yeah.
We cast that vote. You want to ask the next question?
Yeah. So the next question has to do with one of your policies that you would like to put into place if you win, and it's publicly owned broadband. So our question is, why do you think publicly owned broadband would be more beneficial than privately owned?
Because we got monopolies right now. We have trust, basically all price fixing. I mean, basically we don't have a free market whatsoever. And if we allow it to keep happening like that, it's never going to be. Right now, internet in the United States is as important as water, as electricity. Small businesses can't get started. You can't grow. You can't actually bring you can't have really any economic boom without the internet at this point. And so if you don't have it, I mean, you're light years away from where you need to be, which means that it effectively needs to become a basic human right that you have the ability to have good quality, fast broadband internet access no matter where you live or in what county or what part of the country. And I think that that's what we have to do. Eisenhower built the interstate highway, right?
Yeah.
Because he understood that you had to be connected. Well, now we have to take it to the next level. It is time for the same interstate highway, but for the internet. And most of those roads that he built happen to be publicly owned. We pay our taxes for them. So we shouldn't have to, I think that's the analogy kind of that I've gone with.
You also mentioned that the telecommunications oligopolies are price gouging the cost of internet.
We got to change that wording. Nobody knows what that means.
It is a mouthful. But
I got to talk to the policy team. That's bad. Oh my God.
But like, what do you mean by they're price gouging the cost of internet? What's going on?
Oh, I mean, how much is internet for you right now?
Oh my God, how much is it?
It's like $60 a month, I think.
Yeah, about 60.
At least. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I think here it's pretty close to that. It's not even good. And in most places, you only have one internet provider. Like, I mean, you don't have a choice. There is no competition whatsoever. So they basically get to charge whatever they want. And on top of that, like, those internet service providers can effectively go after anybody using their, their service. So like, I think it was Comcast. It was Time Warner or Comcast that went after Netflix and slowed down all their internet speeds, basically as a negotiation tactic, almost holding them hostage so they got paid more. Like that's bullshit. Like that, sorry, that doesn't work for me. So that's kind of what I think that's what that means. We gotta make words that people actually understand. Like that's kind of the biggest thing for me is taking these ideas and actually making it be like, look, it's just normal conversation. It's like, this shouldn't happen. And if you make it more complicated than it is, people zone out. They don't know what's going on.
It's true. Another thing that another policy that you propose is ending predatory towing. I thought that was interesting because I've never seen this put that on as their platform. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, because it ticks me off so much. Like somebody was like, somebody asked me one time, they were like, what is the thing? Like the thing that annoys you the most? And I was like, towing companies.
Yeah.
Because we live in downtown Gainesville and literally you have these towing companies that have like spotters, like just people standing there in plain clothing, away from everything, just watching for somebody to leave their car for 2 minutes, to call a towing truck, which is sitting around the block waiting to come and get it. So by the time they get back, it's gone and you have to pay over $100 just to get it back. Or my favorite, booting. Booting is the single most pointless piece of anything that I have ever seen, and yet it is literally just extortion. Somebody leaves their car for a couple of minutes, you slap a boot on it, and they have to pay to get that boot off, not move the car. They didn't move the car because there was no reason for the car to be moved. It wasn't infringing on traffic or parking. But for some reason, it's okay to just slap an immobilization device on a car that is yours, that you own, and force you to pay to get that off.
I think.
Sorry. No. And the fact that cities give permits to do that, no. And then I call the CEO of one of the tow truck companies here because for some reason he ended up on some sort of donor list. And I was like, apparently supposed to call this list because he had given to somebody years ago. And so I call him and I get in a conversation with him. And within 30 seconds, I realize he is the worst human being I have ever talked to in my life. And literally he told me, quote, if my employees want healthcare and a decent paying job, they should not work for me.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, somebody like that should not have the ability to do business in this community, period.
No.
And so, yeah, towing companies, But it's an entire system just like that, right? Like we got payday loans, we got cash bail bond, we got internet rate or interest rates for credit cards that are basically extortion. Like this is what we have. And so it's a very simple thing that most people never think about. But I actually think that it is the perfect example for how our world has been built, where that is the norm for an industry is literally predatory practices. And it affects most minorities, it affects most of the poor, it affects most students. and the middle class. And so for me, that kind of stuff, that does not fly. And that's why it's on our platform, because most of the people on our team are, I mean, almost all of them are students, and they literally have to deal with it every freaking weekend.
Yeah, I remember I got the boot before, and you just got your car towed.
Yeah,
actually.
I did. I parked it, and the back of my car was a little bit over a what's it called, a fire hydrant. And I only parked it there for 30 minutes, and I got a ticket and it got towed.
Yeah.
so yeah, we've experienced that for sure.
Definitely.
So you know just how annoyed you were.
Yes. Another really, really fascinating thing that I saw on your campaign website, and I can relate to this too, because I was actually arrested on false charges and I went to juvenile hall for a little bit. And I wanted to talk to you about your experience mistakenly getting arrested at a high school soccer game, which sounds really.
I was coaching.
Oh, you were
on the field.
Yeah.
I was literally coaching on the field, and somebody called the police on my assistant coach, who was, I think he was 19, Brazilian, speaking Portuguese, because they thought he was Mexican speaking Spanish. And they didn't want him in their facility.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that happened. Basically, apparently me saying that it was absolutely ridiculous and basically, not taking it whatsoever, led the police officers to decide that I would be a perfect person to make an example out of. And so, yeah, I got beat up by the police in front of my entire team, high school kids, their parents, and threatened to be tased. Spent the evening in a private prison, had to pay like $3,500 to a lawyer just to get out of it. And on top of that, like, they had to throw the thing out because the police officers lied multiple times on the police report. And it's like, if that happens to me coaching a Christian high school soccer team in front of everyone and being told that I'm resisting arrest when I weigh 130 pounds and I couldn't resist arrest even if I wanted to.
130
Yeah.
So my experience with the criminal justice system has ridiculously shaped the way that I look at some of that stuff, because I saw everything, all of it, everything that you hear about, all of it. Like, I had read about these things, I had heard about these things, and I'm like, that'll never happen to me. It can, it will. And eventually you will know someone, or you yourself will go through something like that, and you will realize it is one of the most ridiculous things that you will have ever experienced. And on top of that, nobody will ever get held accountable for it because of things like qualified immunity,
Right.
because of things like cash bail bond. Like, effectively, we have debtors' prisons because people can't afford to do cash bail bond.
Yeah.
So for me, that's it. And it sounds like you had something similar.
Yeah, and it's an extremely radicalizing experience, like you talked about, because as soon as I was out, like, I went back into my middle / slightly upper class world, and it's like they don't really understand, and they don't want to listen as much to the political views because it's not in their realm of experience, in their personal experience. Until
you experience it personally, it's not real.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the suckiest, worst thing I could possibly say is, like, I knew it was bad, and I knew it was happening, but I didn't feel it personally. Like, I didn't have that anger. Yeah. And now I still have it. And it seems like you have it as well, but I agree.
I remember back when I was really angry, I would always be like, everyone needs this to happen to them for them to understand. Like, we need these forced abductions to get people to understand the terrible prison system. Yeah, I would go off like that. But
basically what it is a forced abduction. Yes, I agree.
And one of my last questions that I have is, what was it like growing up in a deep red state in Florida? Because we're in California and we don't really, I feel like there's a lot going on in Florida that's so different from here. Just
I actually grew up in Indiana. So I was Midwest, very conservative. And so it's interesting. Honestly, it's one of those things, and I've tried to tell people that here as well, because most of the people on our team are very progressive or very liberal. They have never gone to a small town, ever. like don't know what a small ice cream shop is that keeps it like an entire town like running. Like it was like there's the place that I went to church like my entire life in Danville, Indiana. Literally the reason that town existed was because the Dairy Queen was open 7 months a year.
Yeah.
That's it. But most people don't know what that's like, or like even how to approach, people who live their lives in those places. And it's very different. It's a different language for most people. And so that's one thing that a lot of people on our team have had to learn very quickly is that we're running in a +9 Republican district. So you got to be able to talk to everybody, and you have to understand like life experience, like how they live, what they do, like, and it just, for some people it's natural because they grow up, like the people you grew up around, you know how to talk to them. Mm-hmm. People you did not grow up around, you have no idea. And so we literally had to do crash courses of, okay, here's how you talk to somebody who owns a small business downtown on the main strip, like, and every single person knows who they are. That's the difference. And so it doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican or whatever. Basically, when you live in towns and in small places, you understand that neither party gives a shit about you.
Yeah.
They do not care if you live or die. And you live your life like that, understanding that. And it's not weird. It's not strange. It's just the way it is. And so when you're able to talk to people and, it's not faking it. It's not trying to. The biggest issue I have with a lot of people that have tried to tell us what to do here is when they tell us what they would do if they were us, I'm literally sitting there going, it sounds like you're a Democrat trying to talk to Republicans about voting for a Democrat.
Yes.
As opposed to, here, I'm just talking to you. This is, what we believe, and this is why we should agree on it. And that's it. And what's crazy is I actually find more support for Medicare for All amongst the rural counties than I do in deep blue Alachua, because they're always so scared of what the people who live out there will think if we try to get rid of the insurance companies. My response is, have you ever talked to somebody in one of those towns about insurance companies?
Right.
There are two things they hate. They hate Comcast and they hate insurance companies, and that's it. That's like the number. Those are the 1 and 2 things. I'm like, you tell them you're going to get rid of a middleman insurance company, they're like, hell yeah, let's do this. I don't even know who it is, but I'm on board. Let's do it. I'm sitting there going, I spend more time convincing Democrats to want to back Democratic ideals than I do convincing people who grew up as Republicans or, don't care. They don't think about politics, basically being like, look, you want high speed internet? You want it fast? You want it cheap? We can do that. Cool. Sign up. Good. I'm good with that. Do you care if it comes from the government or a private company? Not really. I just want it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've
That's
actually,
it.
Natalie's grandparents are from Indiana. Her family's from Indiana. So
Yeah.
What part?
They live right now in North Manchester. Do you know where that is?
Okay. A little bit, yeah. I was basically Indianapolis, just west side of it.
Right. Yeah, that's where my brother lives. They all live out there. But I was born and raised in Los Angeles, so it's always.
So you understand.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I wasn't from there, but I my whole life gone and visited them, and it's so different from downtown LA where we live.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is, but honestly, like when you get to a point where you can take like the best ideas and make them make sense for somebody no matter where they live, that's when you got something. And so it becomes, the other thing is most people don't understand this. It's emotion. You got to make people want something as opposed to just saying, this is better, you should have it. Okay, but do I want it? Like you tell me it's better, but like I don't feel that it's better. So I don't know that I really want it as much as you think I do. And that's the bridge, that's the gap. And when you actually make it make sense, like high-speed rail, you say high-speed rail, no, that's disgusting. That's a Democrat thing. We don't want any of that here. I'm like, well, how about if we just make really fast trains that go twice the speed of the ones we have now? Oh, I like that. That would be cool. Why haven't we done that yet? Well, we have. It's called high-speed rail. I don't like that. But that's it. I mean, it's literally what it is. It's buzzwords. It's speaking to people in their own language, in a language they can understand, and basically being like, yeah, I like trains. Do you like trains? Cool. Let's make faster trains.
Yeah. That's so true.
That's it. Oligopoly or whatever the heck that word was. That's what I've done, like that, yeah. Mm-mm.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like learning new words, but I know that it's also very important, the messaging. That's sort of
Dude,
why
I hated the SATs. Like, no,
yeah.
I don't need to know SAT words.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why for our show, we just call it the Far Left Show. I feel like we try to get our foot in the door, and then we're like, well, I mean, these people we're not so crazy. Like, we're just kind of talking. We care about people. That's it. That's all.
Did you see the video we put out this morning?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, go watch it. It's exactly what you just said. Like, I mean, we've been called crazy and radical and naive and all of these words. And I'm like, I don't think anything we're saying is crazy.
No, not
In
at all.
fact, it kind of sounds conservative.
Yeah.
I want to get rid of the red tape, create a free market, and get rid of the monopolies and get rid of insurance company middlemen. That's not crazy. There's literally conservative ideas. Let's do it.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Desperately needed right now, too. But where can people find you if they want to learn more about your campaign? Where can they find you online?
Yeah, Twitter and Facebook. Twitter if you want the real stuff, because like I don't really hide much on there at all. It's AC for Congress 2020. Facebook if you want the heavily edited, very professional looking kind of stuff that includes words like oligopoly or something. And then our website is forthemany.notjustme.com. And so that has all the information, like policies, but then also like the jobs plan that we just put out. So internet and high-speed fast trains and yeah, all of that kind of stuff. And basically, how we would actually be able to create like wealth and like build our community again and that kind of stuff. So we've the numbers we've run would bring about 32,000 jobs to this area, which would be huge. And so it's if we win, it would be phenomenal. It would be like a category. I think somebody put a category 7 earthquake or something in the political realm. And I was like, it's a little intense. Like, okay, sure. But it would be special. And we're having fun. Like I said, I'm at peace either way. Like I'll get to sleep again.
Yeah.
I'll be so excited. And I know that we've run the race that we wanted to run and we've done it better than anybody else ever has. So that's, I'm good with it, however it falls.
That confidence is important. That's important.
Yes.
It's contagious. So if you're in Florida, District 3, please vote. Adam Christensen. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you coming on to these small YouTube channels, trying to build our base. But we really do appreciate you. We hope you win. We'll be watching your name. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Take care.
I haven't gotten much better at these things. It's still strange for me. It's like seeing my name like on signs and stuff or like right there. It's weird. I don't like that. So yeah, it's been very strange. Like it's not one of those things that's normal. And I don't know how you get used to it because it's just like, my face on a sign. Nobody wants to see that.
Well, that's good. That's honestly good. I feel like there's some people in politics that specifically want their face or their name on everything. But we appreciate you.
Yeah.
People weird me out. I don't like that. It was wonderful to meet you as well. And what was the dog's name again?
Dougie.
And we have Daisy too.
Dougie and Daisy?
Yes. 2 chihuahuas. Yeah.
Well, take care.
Thank you so much.
Man. Hey, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.